Hi everybody, this is Jen from Cookies, Cupcakes, and Cardio.com. Today we're going to be making a homemade apple pie from scratch. So I'm here at my mother-in-law's and she has two really big apple trees that are ready to be picked. So I'm going to be using her apples, and what you're looking for is more of a tart and a hard apple as opposed to a sweet or a soft one. And we're going to need about 3 pounds of apples. So I'm going to get picking and then we'll be back in the kitchen to show you how to put the pie together. So what we're going to need to make the apple pie, for the egg wash which goes on top of the pie crust, we need 1 tablespoon of heavy cream and 1 large egg yolk. Then to make the pastry for the pie, we're going to need 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 to 1/2 cup of cold water, 1 cup of cold butter cut into these small pieces, and 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. For the filling, we're going to need 3 pounds of apples that have been sliced and peeled and cored, and then we're going to mix in 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And then to finish the pie off, we're going to decorate it with some of the coarse sanding sugar. And then we'll be using a 9-inch round pie plate. To make the pie pastry, we're going to start with our flour and we're going to put it into the food processor. And then we're going to add the sugar and the salt, and I'm just going to mix it in together. I'm just going to turn the food processor on just quickly to incorporate these ingredients. After those are mixed up, I'm just going to add the cubes of butter. And you want to make sure everything's cold. So even you can chill your flour and your sugar and your salt too. That even helps keep the temperature nice and cold. So I'm going to put these all in, and then I'm going to grind it up until we have like really small chunks in here, like slightly chunkier than you'd find sand on the beach, but not quite the size of a pebble. So I'm just going to pulse this, and then I'll be back to show you what the consistency should be. So I'm going to check it now, and it's quite pebbly. It looks perfect. So what I'm going to do now is, using cold water, I'm just going to sprinkle the cold water evenly. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing again with the pulsing until the dough just starts to come together. And then when that happens, I'll be back to show you what the dough should look like after that. So it looks like it's starting to hold together. So I'm just going to touch it, and you can see now that it does make a little bit, it grabs itself together, and so it's perfect. So I have to set up some saran wrap next, so I'll be back to show you what the next step is. So I have my dough here, and I'm just going to roughly divide it in half just by making a little ball on the center of 2 pieces of saran wrap or plastic wrap. You just want to be able to wrap up the dough tightly and crumble, and then press all the crumbs up into the ball. So we've got about most of it out here now. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of scoop these in together, kind of push them together, and then wrap it up tightly, fold it down, and then I'm just going to press it down and try to get it just into a little disc shape. Once I've got it into a disc shape, I'm going to put it into the fridge so it will cool for about an hour, and you can do it all the way from an hour to overnight. So my dough's been chilling in the fridge, and now I've floured my countertop here. I'm just going to take my rolling pin, and I'm going to roll my pie dough out to be just slightly bigger than my 9-inch pan. So when I've rolled it out to a nice thin consistency, I'll be back to show you how to get it into the pan. Now that I have my pie dough rolled out, I'm just going to gently lift it up, getting my hands underneath here, and placing it into the pie pan here. And then I'm going to make sure I press it right down to the sides, and onto the top here. And then taking a clean pair of kitchen shears, or just a regular clean pair of scissors, you're just going to cut it off so it's right at the edge of the pie pan. To make the filling, you're going to need your apples, and you're going to add in your sugar, all of your cinnamon and nutmeg and salt, and the lemon juice. I'm just going to pour it on top here, and then I'm going to mix it up. Once it's all mixed together, it will be ready to be poured into the center of the pie crust. So now that I have my apples mixed together, I'm just going to place all of, as many as I can get in here, into the center of the pie crust. And once you've got it filled, you want to do a couple things. You want to turn your oven on to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and preheat it. And once I've got these also into here, what I want to do after that is put this whole pie without the top into the fridge to chill just for a little while you roll out the lid of the pie. So I'm going to go pop this into the fridge, and then I'll be back to roll out the top. So I'm going to roll out the top just like I did the bottom, and this is going to go over top of the apples. So I'm just going to get rolling, and then I will show you how to put it over top. So I've got my pie here, and I have the top part. So I'm just going to pick it up like I did before and lay it over top. And then what I'm going to do is just try to trim off a little bit again, but this time I'm going to leave a little bit of an overhang. So probably about an inch, a couple centimeters of an overhang. And then I'm going to tuck in underneath. So I'm just going to tuck like this and go all the way around. So I'm tucking in the pie top to the pie bottom. And then you could use a fork at this point, or you can just use your fingers and make a little design like that along the side. So I'm going to be back after I go all the way around here, and I'll show you how to finish the top of the pie for baking. So now I'm ready to finish off my pie. What I want to make sure I do is provide a little bit of venting for the pie, so when it's cooking, it has room for the air to escape. And then I'm going to make sure that I have my egg wash mixed up, and just a reminder, it's the egg yolk and the heavy cream. Just making the little slits. So I'm going to use a basting brush here, and I'm just going to just gently brush it on here. You don't need a ton. This will just give it a nice golden color when it comes out. So get that all over. And then in front you can see right here I have rolled out some of the excess dough. I just found like a really cute apple cutter. You don't have to do this step, or you could use any cutter that you want. And I'm just going to make a little extra some extra little cutouts to put on the top. So I'm just cutting it out, placing it on the top. And I'll cut out a couple of these, placing them around, just to give a little bit more of a festive fall feel. Leaves would look cute. You can also do this along the edge of the crust, and that looks really cool as well. There we go. And then, using the sanding sugar, just going to sprinkle the top of the crust. And because this is coarse grind, it won't melt or anything while it's baking, and you'll be able to see a nice little shimmer when you cut each piece. So now I'm going to put the pie onto a parchment lined baking sheet, and I'm going to put it into the oven at 425 degrees, and it's going to stay at 425 for about 25 minutes, and then I'm going to turn the temperature down to 375, and it's going to bake again at 375 for a full hour. So it's quite a long process, so I'll be back in a while to show you the finished pie. So there you have it, everybody, how to make a homemade pie from scratch. Before you cut into it, you want to let the pie settle for a couple of hours, 2 to 3 at least, and then you can dig in. I love eating apple pie during the fall. What kind of pie do you guys like to eat? Leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear what your favorite types of pie are. So thanks so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel. You can find us on Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, and on Instagram.